Alright guys, it's your boy Shades and Trades here with another video. Let's talk about Aitx. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Let's talk about Aitx. There's some important information that you should know, so please watch until the very end because there's a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about the shares outstanding chart. I was looking at the share structure right now and we're almost maxing it out. Almost. And I'm going to show you that trend to the upside in terms of dilution. We know that dilution hurts the stock. Let's talk about it. It's important to know ahead of time what could happen based on previous historical patterns. We're also going to touch on real quick. I was looking at Aitx and ILIS. I already made a video talking about ILIS and Aitx, but I just want to touch on this in case you didn't watch that video because that's more of an ILIS video. Aitx and ILIS, you see what I'm seeing? They're both at 0048. You know what one company does that the other doesn't? One communicates, one is transparent, and one walks the walk. The other doesn't. The other talks, doesn't walk the walk, doesn't follow through on timelines. The other one dilutes not as much as the ITX, but they still dilute, and they blame, anyone but themselves for the share price dumping, even though it's really ILIS's fault that their share price continues to fall because they do not communicate. And you see what I'm saying? Both at 0048. One is creating this is the floor here. This was the previous bottom at 006, high 005s. Look at that. It's creating a new lower floor. Now let's look at AITX real quick, and you guys who are AITX shareholders, you should probably be getting excited about this because you're seeing a huge turn of events here. Just because one company is willing to communicate, is willing to be transparent, unlike you know, you know who. So AITX here, creating a higher floor at 00. Let me switch to the daily. Creating a higher floor from bottoming out at 002s now at 004. So it doubled its floor. Let's put it that way. It created a higher floor. It's surging to the up. It's trending to the upside. And what's the difference between the two companies? It's just communication. That is literally the only difference. And AITX has the worst share structure. Yeah, it has the worst share structure compared to ILIS. They're both penny stocks. Yes, I get that they're in different sectors, but ultimately, I think the difference maker here is the communication. Because you're seeing a huge change here for AITX. This thing just created a higher floor. It's about to go higher over the long term. And then you have ILIS doing the complete opposite. So I just wanted to point that out. And we're finally going to see AITX completely surpass ILIS in share price. And rightfully so, because they are doing all the right things. You're a penny stock. You have a lot to prove. If you're a penny stock and you're not communicating with shareholders and you come out with a video saying, I refuse to communicate with you guys, we're just going to grow the business. I don't know how you're going to interpret that, but I would not touch ILIS for a long-term hold at least. Good swing trade though. Anyways, with that comparison aside, let's talk about the authorized shares outstanding. Shares, I do predict that we will break 1 penny. I do predict we will break 1 penny. Okay, I'm just going to say that right now. We will. Okay, guys, believe that. We will. It will happen. We have Catalyst underway in August specifically. Some hot PRs in August coming that can move the share price to the upside because people love big numbers. They love headlines with big numbers, and that causes the share price to move, and it can move 50% as we just saw recently. So, but I do want to talk about the outstanding shares is at 10, almost 11 billion. Authorized shares at 12.5 billion. We go to the Y charts here. You can see the outstanding shares. We click on 5-year, and let's just look through this data real quick. What do you see, guys? I'm going to be quiet and let you just look at these numbers. Now that you're done looking at the numbers, hopefully it didn't take you too long. Let's start with 2021. 2021, 2.57 billion in outstanding shares. 2.57. 2022, 4.33 billion. So there was about 2 billion in dilution. not exactly 2 billion, but around 2 billion in dilution from 2021 to 2022. From 2022 to 2023, we went from 4.33 billion to 5.378 billion. So only 1 billion in dilution that year. But you'll notice, you can see here, there's a huge surge here between 2022, between 2023 and 2024. They more than made up for the fact they only diluted 1 billion in 2022. And from 2023 to 2024, they diluted from 5.37 billion to 8.35. So 3 billion in dilution. So even though they only diluted 1 billion here, they more than made up for it, and they diluted 3 billion the next year. And you'll notice from 2024 to now, the first half of this year, we went from 8.355 billion in outstanding shares as of January 3rd, 2024. And as of May 22nd, 2024, the outstanding shares is at 10.32 billion. That's what it's showing here. As of May 22nd, by the way, 10.32 billion. So they've already diluted 2 billion in the first half of this year. And we know, based off of this data and the fact that the authorized shares is sitting at 12.5 billion, we're getting pretty close to maxing it out. And so if I had to make any kind of prediction based on its historical patterns and PR patterns, because we know the stock like the back of our hand, I predict that in the future, there will be a PR, unfortunately, a negative PR that sends the share price lower. And that PR is going to be, we are increasing the authorized shares to probably 15 billion, I hope. Hopefully not 20 billion. That would be a huge jump. But, there's going to be a PR in the future where they talk about increasing the authorized shares. They're going to have to do that, right? They've already diluted 2 billion this year within the first half. So unless we assume that in the second half they're not going to dilute, let's assume they don't. Let's just assume they're done diluting for the year. They diluted 2 billion in the first half, but the second half there will be no dilution. Let's just assume that. If we assume that, then the share price should naturally surge to the higher to 1 penny and above, because there won't be any dilution to send us downward. There won't really be anything to stop us other than profit taking, and we won't have to worry about dilution. Again, this is assuming that the company doesn't dilute the other second half of the year. But I think that would be a pretty optimistic. Uh, yeah, I don't see that happening. I think they're going to continue to dilute until Steve Reinhardt says, "Hey, no more dilution for the rest of the year." If he said that, oh boy, am I buying a big position right on the spot, because now I don't have to worry about that. But unfortunately, I think that's going to continue to happen. We're going to see a PR increasing the authorized shares. That's going to send the share price down. Unfortunately, that's not a good catalyst. That's not perceived as a positive thing. So yeah, if increasing the authorized shares meant the share price would surge, then oh my God, keep increasing the authorized shares by all means, right? But that's not the case, unfortunately, for this stock. So for any stock for that matter. I know I'm sounding a little more deflated now, but I think look, I just showed you the difference between Aitx and Aitx. One's moving higher, one's moving lower. Both dilute, but the fact that we have this kind of strength with this penny stock, the fact that even though they're going to continue to dilute, we're still creating that higher floor and going higher over the long term, and the fact that we're going to break 1 penny in the future when that August PR comes around, combined with the big numbers headlines that people love. Uh, my prediction is we are going to start surging again. We're going to start surging in the later second half of this year. They're going to have to increase the authorized shares. That PR will come out at some point. I hope it doesn't come out while we're surging. And that is really the point I was trying to make with all this data. Because if we're surging like this, like we did here, or here, or here, it doesn't matter. If we're running up on a hot PR and they decide, hey, let's increase the authorized shares and dilute while the share price is surging and up nice and expensive, because people always talk about they should dilute when it's at a higher share price. The problem is if they drop that PR at as we're surging, it's gonna cause it to come down. Unfortunately, so I just hope they don't drop that authorized shares increase PR when we're running up to 1 penny, because then it's just gonna deflate it. It's gonna deflate the run, and I mean we'll create a higher floor, but I just hope they don't drop that PR at the wrong time. Hopefully they do that before the run is what I'm trying to say, because that can stop momentum. Like bad PRs like that can stop momentum. So let's hope for that, and that kind of changes my game plan a little bit because we're aware. We just looked at the data. Like man, they love to dilute about 3 billion every year. They've diluted 2 billion already. So if they're gonna dilute another billion, I mean they're gonna have to increase the authorized shares. That PR will come out. It'll send the share price down, unfortunately, or it'll stop the momentum of a surge. So let's hope that doesn't happen. The most bullish thing that could happen is they announce Steve Reinhardt announces like, hey, dilution, we're done for the year, and we're gonna trade clean, and we're just gonna see the share price appreciate to 1 penny and above, and create a higher floor. That is it for the video. Hope you like the data that I'm showing you here. We got to try and think ahead and get ahead of everyone else so that we may position ourselves appropriately and know, like, hey, at any point in the future, they could drop this PR that could send it down or stop the momentum of a surge. So now that we know that, I mean, like I said, I'm in it already. I'm just gonna wait for 1 penny at this point, and we're gonna make money. And that guy that said he was gonna tip me when it goes to a penny, you better believe you're gonna make money. If you don't believe it, well, I believe in you. You just wait and see. And that is it for the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I will see you in the next one.